Hello, everyone. We are back with my buddy Ryan Eaton. We're talking about financial advice, and I listened to a podcast that was just giving basic financial advice. And anytime I listen to something that speaks to me, I always take a time to re-listen to it, pull out my journal, and write down my thoughts. And so that's what I did with this podcast. And I thought this would be good to talk about with a buddy of mine who we talk a lot about financial things and really a lot about all kinds of things. Once again, all of these things, if you missed part two, are in the context of natural things, but we want to take that with a spiritual bent. And I want to encourage you, like with your finances and with your money, we know it's about honoring God first and expanding his kingdom and establishing things in the hearts of lives of others. So, never take these things of like motivating your own selfishness or motivating your life over into overconsumption. But at the same time, we don't want to be ignorant about these things. We don't want the children of the world to know more about finances than the children of God, because we're not just called to be givers, we're called to be good stewards. And the better we are at stewardship, the more that we have to give, and the more our lives can make a difference. And so that's kind of the essence of this. So we've talked about 6 things already. 1, focus on earning more than spending less. 2, outsource things to free up your focus so you can focus on growth. 3, words are powerful. You will never rise higher than your money talk. 4, have nicer things but way less things. 5, lower your stimuli, meaning free up your brain. And 6, get wisdom. 7 is an interesting one to me, and we'll pick up with that today. And I've seen this true in my own life, and I think this hits at kind of the spiritual narrative of have a why. And their point is most people reach a financial threshold that their life never rises above. Passion will push you to the next level and give you energy to when you feel like sitting. Why is essential to get you to the next level financially. You got to figure out that why, and you've got to make it a focus in your life. And I think we all reach thresholds with everything. In our marriages, we reach thresholds. In our physical bodies, we get to a place where it's like, no, it's good enough. The pants fit. That kind of thing. And so we get to places where we're comfortable.
Yep.
And then we just kind of stop.
Yeah.
And their point is, I think financially, we can kind of do that same thing. If we get to a place where we're comfortable and it's like, well, this is good for me, and we've learned how to live at that level, and we've learned how to pay the bills, and we've learned, how to have a good life and that type of thing. But to break through that barrier, you've got to find that why. And maybe you never find it, and that's okay too. But if you do want to go to that next level, I've seen in my own life that why is important. And I've even seen that in context of the church. Years ago, when we just had phase 1 here at Lakeland, I'm like, this is good. We were debt free. We were running 5 services.
Yep.
I'm like, we're able to give what we wanted to give towards missions and that type of thing, and was at a place where we were just in a good place. I was 29 years of age. I'm like, I could do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Never incur any debt. I'm like, if this is as good as it gets, I'll take it every single day of the week. And on a Saturday, I was walking around the sanctuary and just praying, and the Lord really dealt with my heart, and he said, you're robbing me. And I'm like, how am I robbing you? I give tithes and offerings. I look to expand your kingdom. He's like, you're robbing me in your thinking. Like, there is more that you can do for me, and you're only seeing the level that you're at, and it's good enough for you, but there's so much more I need you to do for me. And that was not just on a ministerial level, but for a ministry. There was a level he wanted us and still wants us to get to financially, that we can do more. And at that time, we were giving about $500,000 a year. This year, we've given over $2 million to world missions this year as a church. And so I look at that now and I'm like, I was robbing him. If I would have stayed at that level, there would have been levels that we never would have gotten to without expanding our thinking about what God still wanted to do in our own life. Have you seen that kind of like in your life, and how do you disrupt that comfort once you've gotten there?
Kind of going into the why with that, contentment and drive are two things that you can get real fuzzy.
Yep.
Contentment, you want to be content. but you can get too content, like you were saying.
Right.
Where it's, hey, I'm happy. Where we go? Let's not sit back and enjoy, you know. And then there's drive, which is a good thing, pushing forward.
Yes.
And then overdrive can aggravate everyone around you, and it could turn into greed and other things along those lines. I think the why is the balance for contentment and drive.
Yes.
And so if you have that why, that importance, that factor out there that you're trying to push forward, and it's bigger than yourself, right? It's for the Lord. It's for your family. It's for the legacy, and not just from a prideful legacy standpoint, but from a, this is what I need to accomplish.
Yes.
This is what I'm doing something with the gifts and talents I've been given to be able to hit these goals. And the why is the driving force behind it, you know, and it's what wakes you up in the morning. And, you know, I think your why typically will be something that you're passionate about.
Yes.
And God's put passion on the inside of each of us for different things. And if you have that why focused on that, it's kind of like the old statement, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life type thing.
Yes.
And I think that's where your why will help push you to it. I hadn't heard it said like that with finances, but I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point.
Yeah. So out of that, like where I find my why, you know, is like you said, I think about what I want to do for the kingdom. I think about what I want to do for others, which is a part of the kingdom for me.
That's
It's
right.
like when we help people, whatever we've done unto the least of these, we've done unto the Lord. I want to be a blessing to people at Christmas. I want to provide Christmas for families. I'd like to do that for more. You do it for
That's right.
one. It's like, I'd like to do that for more than one.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of, I'd like to be a blessing to missionaries. And I've got to go on a journey to find that. How did you, because I think people would look at that and be like, well, that's easy for me. Easy for you, Pastor Joel. You're a pastor. Like that's, you know, that's kind of the expectation.
You don't do that.
What a jerk. You know, that kind of thing. But for you, it's like in business and as a businessman, where do you find an authentic why that is pure? And what did that look like for you? Because I know you're there at that same place. How did you get that?
Man, I've been fortunate that I have a father and an uncle who lead our company, and they have a true heart for the Lord. They have a heart for missions. They have a heart for that. So unlike a lot of people, I grew up in it, and I've been able to watch and see them and have that authentic why to know that, you know, I tell my team all the time, you know, achievement's awesome, but the impact is what we're going for, right? You know, we can
Achievement versus impact.
Oh, it's
is
huge.
so strong.
It's huge. And
So
like, hey, we
strong.
can achieve these sales goals. And hey, it's a pat on the back, it's a win. But what is it really doing? And that's the impact. It's, you know, saving these kids from being sexually molested over in Africa. It's helping teach these men a skill set so they can feed their families over in Mozambique. It's, you know, the missionary place in Guatemala. It's this or that. It's doing the things that have impact
Yes.
and remembering at the end of the day. My dad always says it. We're a place of purpose, and we have a stone outside our office that says "place of purpose" on there. And you know, we know that hey, our income, a certain percentage of it over the tithe, et cetera, is going to do these things, and we support them, and we talk about it, and we do the Bible studies at the office on Friday, and things like that to reiterate and talk about our why. Because if we don't, if you talk about your why once a year, if you look at your goal once a year, if you love your kids once a year, if you know, say I love you to your wife once a year, it's not really focused on. So you got to talk about it and look at it. And to us, if we don't do that, it's easy for the why to slip. It becomes just another customer service call. It becomes just another sales call. But if you understand and remind everyone, here's what we did, and we love getting videos from missionaries when hey, this is what this was able to do, and we play it for our teams. And they can see, oh man, you know, I might be just taking a phone call, but my phone call might have just saved a client, which saved this little girl from being sex trafficked. And you see stuff like that, man, that's impact. And that's your why. And so having a why like that and knowing it's just bigger than, it's a bigger why than a faster car, a shinier, newer car, a bigger house, an extra garage, or whatever the case may be. It's got to be something bigger than just stuff. The stuff will come, but you got to have a purpose there that's kind of pushing you forward to have that impact.
Yeah, I love that. Like even on a practical level, like for me and Pep this past year, the Lord really dealt with our heart to give a certain amount to young couples a month. Like to pick one young couple a month and to just bless them and it was the same amount each month. And so I'm like, okay, immediately my mind went to point number one of like, how can I budget for that?
Yeah.
Of like, what can I cut?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no.
Yep.
Like, how can I believe God for that? What extra income or opportunity
good.
could I create to do that? And sure enough, every month we were able to hit it. But I got so much fulfillment out of that why. And because I could remember being a young couple, and we talked about that in a podcast. So both of us had families young.
That's right.
And we know what it's like when it's like, we need a sofa.
Yeah.
Right?
Tough. Yeah.
Like, genuinely, like we
it.
need a sofa,
Yeah.
or we need plates.
Yep.
Or like we'd like decent silverware, or like any of those kinds of things. And to help young couples with those projects was just so much fun this year. But that was a why that pulled us to a
love
new
that.
place.
Do you remember when you were probably 23, 24, and someone blessed you with a dinner, how much it meant to you?
Oh, it was
I
everything.
mean, like it meant the world
Yeah, it
to
was
you.
everything.
And it's as we grow and as finances increase
Yes.
and as things increase, I hate to say it, but sometimes that gratitude takes a little
That's
bit
right.
more.
That's right.
And I'm telling you,
We
at
get
that
spoiled.
age, oh, we do.
Yeah.
We get spoiled at that age. You think you're in a tough spot.
Yes.
You know, when you're having to budget every penny and look at everything, so you can pay the electric bill or whatever the case may be. But man, those blessings at that time, it's so easy to be blessed.
Yes.
Enjoy that.
Yes.
That's to me at least. That's what it was for us.
Yeah. And so I would say, like, even if you're at a level financially where maybe you say, like, Pastor Joel, I'm really struggling, just in my own life, find a why even outside of yourself. Focus on being a blessing in some way, and it will come back to you. But you'll see, like, there's a different level of motivation that comes from that than from other things. But have a why, I think, is a great one.
That's a good one.
Next one is everything is an investment or withdrawal. And their point was this: is you have friends who are making investments, you have friends who are making withdrawals. There is some television; it's an investment of like you just need a break, but then it can very easily shift into it took a withdrawal. You watched it all night, and it took far more out
That's
of
right.
you than it put in you. There are some trips; they're investments. You need it. You need the rest. You need to get away. And to think strategically about planning a trip as an investment.
That's right.
Like, yes, it costs, but like it's an investment in my creativity, it's an investment in my peace, an investment in my family,
That's right.
an advancement in my marriage.
That's right.
But then there's some withdrawals of like, you took that trip, you spent a lot of money, but no one had any fun. You went into debt for it. Now you're accumulating. So,
Yeah.
but everything in life is an investment or
That's
a
right.
withdrawal. And if we can focus on that a little bit more,
good.
it helps us. What are your thoughts on some of those things?
Man, I would agree. I think it is. And choose to invest in reading a book or sitting down and binging on the sofa, or whatever the case may be. I think though too, like you said, sometimes you just need that mental break.
Yep.
We're, big, key word in our top society today is mental health. And I do think there's some times with relaxation or reading or watching TV, whatever it is, you need some peace time, some
Yes.
downtime, some sitting by the pool time, whatever the case may be. So I do, but I think everything's an investment or withdrawal. That's very fair on your finances. It's very fair on your time, your marriage, all that type of stuff. Every time I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else.
Yes.
And every time I say no to something, I'm saying yes to something else. So it kind of goes in that same type bucket as well. It's intentionality.
Yes.
And is this worth my time? Is
Yes.
this a good thing for me to do? Is this going to bless our family, or is it going to pull back from our family?
Yeah, and knowing when it's getting overkill, and like knowing how to shut off that switch and listen to the spirit on the inside and be like, no, stop watching that, stop playing that,
Yeah.
stop buying that, and like come back and be like, I can invest this money or I can spend it. I can invest this time or I can spend it. I can invest in this relationship, or I can, spend my relational equity and have a conversation that took more out of this to put into it, and that type of thing.
so good. I like that.
I like it. All right. Number 9, and there's 2 more. Number 9, take massive ownership of your situation. And this is their point, is you are where you are because of your past decisions. You will be where you are 10 years from now because of your current decisions. Make wise choices. Your life is a direct result of your past actions. If you don't agree with that, you have already lost.
That's good.
And basically their point is like that and I preach this message several times throughout my ministry, but it's you are either a victim or a victor. And the victim is always looking at all these things outside of my choices as to why I am where I am. My father died, or this was unfair, or I never got the education that I wanted, or I didn't get into the school I wanted to get into. And I have all of these things that I'm looking at, and I'm using them to blame as to why I'm not achieving financially. But if I want to, or in any arena, but if I want to break out of that, it's like I've got to take massive responsibility and massive action. It's like I can't control what happened to me, but I can always control how I respond to it. Let me take massive action in my life today. Let me, begin to invest. Let me begin to save. Let me begin to have creative time with the Holy Spirit. Let me begin to cut my stimuli. Let me begin to get wisdom. But whatever it may be, I've got to take responsibility for my life. What does that speak to you on take massive ownership of your situation?
You said it. You nailed it. I don't know how you add to that. Only thing I can
Did you have
of,
a moment like that in your life where it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to figure this out?
Yes. Where after college, I had some different eye-opening things happen to me where I read a book by Jack Canfield called Success Principles. And I had someone recommend it to me. I read it, and the first chapter of the book was take 100% responsibility for your life. That was the chapter. I remember I read it, had like 67 chapters in the book, and each one of them was about 6 to 7 pages. I read that thing. I've read it probably 10 times now to this day, and it's great nuggets all throughout. But I can tell you that unless you take responsibility, man, what's the point?
Right.
I mean, it's always somebody else's fault.
That's right. You can only control what you can control.
That's right. And I agree. Some things will happen to us that we can't control. We can control our attitude. We control how we respond. We can't always control that a tornado came and hit the house. We can't control this or that. But how we handle it from that point forward, we have to take responsibility for and quit blaming others. So, but you nailed it. What you said, I ain't gonna try to add to that.
I like it. Okay, last one, number 10. Don't spend money on labels and brands. And their point of this was get out of the consumer mindset and stop allowing yourself to be manipulated by society and advertisers. Only spend money on things you really like. And their point is that we live in a world where there's so much marketing to us. Now, even on social media, the people that we follow are paid by companies to market their products. And that's a big place of where advertisement dollars are going. They don't really like it. They're just being paid by this company to tell you they like it so that you will like it and you will go spend money. And their point is because we're overstimulated and watching all these people wearing these brands, driving these cars, doing these things, we have unhealthy desire in us, a desire that is not intrinsically ours, or like we believe as Christians, coming from the Spirit of the Lord. And so cutting out stimuli and being like, I'm not going to allow myself to just be marketed to.
That's right.
Let me really mind my own heart and to see what desires are there, that I don't have to have that just because they have that. Who determined that was that great anyway? Like, where did a lot of these things come from? Questioning those things. What are your thoughts on that when you hear something like that?
I think it's easy in society to see someone who's looks happy, right? And you see their highlight reel of, all the different things and the stuff they have. You know, if I had that, I'll be happy. And it's not true, right? Like we know that. And I think it's easy to get sucked into that. Oh, if I had that Mercedes. Oh, if I had that Louis Vuitton. Oh, if I had that, nice meal, or I could go there to eat. Then I'd be man. It's not the case, right? It's there are certain things. Like for me, I like a certain brand of hunting gear called Sitka, and it's really nice, but it's amazing quality. It lasts. It's got 100% lifetime warranty on it. All that type of stuff. So I'll buy that type of stuff. And do that, but. It's not that, I got to have it because so-and-so has it, right?
And I could tell, even like when you talked about it just then, you could see the heart of I think what God wants, and the heart of I think what they were talking about is joy and peace.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like if you really enjoy it, that's right. take it there.
That's right.
But don't take that in every arena of
That's right.
life.
That's right.
Of like, for me, I genuinely don't care about the clothes that I wear or shoes. I like, for some people, that's a thing. And
That's right.
if that's your thing, great. But for me, there's other things that I do care about that, truly do
That's
bring
right.
me joy. But like focus on those things and don't feel like you have to have, an item simply because somebody else marketed
Yes,
to you.
exactly right. That's a quick way to go broke.
Yes.
And you're still not happy afterwards.
No.
It's
Yeah.
like a double whammy.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I think that point really comes with the lower your stimuli.
That's right.
That if I'm cutting out a lot of these other things that are constantly marketing to me by shutting off social media and shutting off some of these other things that are constantly feeding me from the
That's right.
outside desire, that my inward desire does become more authentic, and my inward desire does become more pure.
I bet if there was a study on that, you could see that people who spend more time on social media
Yes.
have more fake desires, right? They want things
Yeah.
because they saw someone else with it rather than them truly wanting it. I don't know that's maybe
Yeah.
a fact. Let me be very clear on
I
that,
would
but I
say
would
that's
guess
true.
that's probably would line up.
Well, I had this thought. I was talking to some ministers the other day, and I had this thought of like Esau and Jacob. Jacob went through 2 seasons of his life where he knew he needed to change. In one, he tried to become his brother to be blessed by his father. And so he took on who he thought his brother was and made his arms hairy like his brother's, made his voice try to change like his brother's.
that'll preach.
And then it's like, Father, bless me.
But
It wasn't him. It was Jacob, but it wasn't. He picked up who he thought he had to be from Esau. And he got what he thought he wanted. He got that blessing, but it brought pain in his life. It put him in Laban's house. He had to leave his brother. He lost his family, all of these kinds of things. So he got what he thought he wanted, what was being marketed. He got what he thought he wanted, but it didn't bring any life. And then on his way back home, he knows, I'm still not who I want. And instead of trying to become his brother, he wrestled with God. And in this wrestle with himself and God, he's there. And he is blessed by God in being him. And not having any of Esau on him, it's just an authentic heart of, I will not let go until you bless me. And out of that, it was an authentic blessing that not just blessed him, it brought restoration with his brother and set up a lineage of faith of the children of Israel literally being born out of him, and that type of thing. And I think the same thing is true with us. Like if we can lower our stimuli, stop looking at Esau, stop looking at like what he's walking in, stop, being marketed towards that life, that type of thing, just genuinely wrestle with God and ourselves of like, what's in me? Like, what do I want? God, what do you want for me?
That's right.
That out of that pure desire would come, and it would be a blessing that is added with no sorrow to
That's
it.
right.
And nothing.
That's good, man. I like that. I look forward to that message on that one.
All right, we'll have to do it. I appreciate you, buddy, all the time, and thank y'all for listening to us, watching us. We will catch you next time.